You were on the speakers list last night. You were what, number 35 on the list?
38.
38 on the list? How long did it take to get to you?
It hasn't gotten to me yet.
There you go.
They actually capped it off. We were there until 10 o'clock at night, so it's gotten bumped till Monday.
And how many there, more than 200 speakers altogether?
I think around 200, yeah, and they're each getting 5 minutes, so it'll take a little while.
And why do you think there are so many people turning out to talk about this?
It is a big shift. It's like the Laneway House debate in 2009. Like it's a big shift to single-family neighborhoods, and that always stirs up a lot of strong feelings. And I think it is the right time to talk about this. We want to talk about the plan in full. We don't want to talk about each individual project. We want to talk about the plan.
And so for people who haven't been keeping abreast of this, just tell us what the plan is. Because when you say, this village thing, I mean, I think of neighborhoods that already have, those villages. One of the sites, for instance, is, say, Nanaimo and Broadway. You've already got housing and businesses on 3 of the 4 corners there, and little, business areas and new buildings that have been built. Does that make it a village?
Not yet. I guess the city would argue that it's the start or maybe the seed. I think there's some of these, and they are quite diverse. Some, they might be building on an existing node like that.
Yeah.
Some, like where our Lanefab office is on Commercial Street, like it is already a really amazing little mixed village. It's an incredible little place.
Yeah.
Others are kind of these amenity deserts, parts of the city where there's very little housing diversity, few shops, and almost nothing that you can buy for less than $2 million.
Yeah.
So they are quite different in terms of the quality of each of those different nodes.
Now, I mean, what opportunities do you see then in this?
Well, I think it's an important shift that's been 50 years in the making. For the last 50 years, we've really put single-family character at the top tier of the way that we plan our cities. Mm-hmm. And that's meant that all of the multifamily housing has had to go either downtown or industrial sites or on busy, polluted corridors. We really haven't allowed anything like what we did with the West End, where you could have small apartment buildings on quiet side streets. And so I think there's a hope that we can bring something like that to a lot more of the city.
Why haven't we seen more of that around? Well, we do see it. I mean, we see it around South Granville. We see a number of low-rise apartment buildings all over South Granville.
Yeah, when you drive across town, you see a lot because that's where they put it. They put it on the busy, polluted streets. So when you're driving across town, you see it. But if you go a block in, the city is still mostly a sea of single-family houses.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, around the South Granville area, around Hemlock, I mean, you see those buildings, push into the neighborhood quite a bit on both sides of Granville Street there. You see it in Kerrisdale. You see a lot of older apartment buildings in Kerrisdale, even high-rises in Kerrisdale.
Yeah, Kerrisdale, Main Street, parts of Kitsilano. A lot of these areas do have these older apartment buildings, like my neighborhood in Main Street, lots of older apartment buildings and lots of young people and really thriving businesses because of that.
Right.
But you go to some neighborhoods where they've really clamped down on housing for decades, and now a lot of the retail is struggling. So the schools sometimes are struggling because there's just not enough people there.
Yeah.
It's been too tightly controlled. The character has been controlled. You end up with this kind of character gentrification where it gets very expensive and very hard for new people to live there.
Is the Villages plan going to solve that? Because when I look at the plan, it looks like I don't see anything in Dunbar. I don't see anything in West Point Grey. I don't see anything. I don't think there's anything in Kerrisdale, at least until you get to West Boulevard.
Yeah, it's totally a fair question. Like, why is Dunbar and Point Grey being excluded from that? I don't know. I would say maybe that's the next step, but I don't know why it was excluded.
So what would one of these, in your mind, then, what would one of these village hubs, if successful, what would it look like?
If successful, what I would like to see is small lot, fine-grained apartment buildings, and we have this brand new toolkit in terms of single stair buildings,
yeah,
which allows us to do something very different than anything that we've done before in the city. And so, if we can have small apartment buildings that are accessible, they're not chock full of stairs. You can have a wheelchair access to every single unit, and we can do that on small lots on quiet side streets, and then be able to walk to amenities. Like, this is the ideal kind of urbanism that we've been talking about for years. We just haven't had the kind of ability to kind of bring that to life yet.
How do you make this remotely affordable, though? Because we've been hearing a lot about gentle density. You go up and down Oak Street or Cambie Street or even Granville Street now, and these are on the main arterials. You'll see those townhouse complexes. These are not big, homes we're talking about here, but they're still $2 million and up.
Yeah, and that's a challenge. And you know what? I've been building gentle density in Vancouver for 20 years.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Lane houses, duplexes, now multiplexes. It's contextual, it fits in. But I've always struggled with the fact that it's very hard for me to build something that somebody could buy for less than $1 million. I also can't build purpose-built rental, and the stuff that we build is also not accessible. It's chock full of stairs. I think somebody at the hearing called it a stairmaster. You know, these townhouse-style units are stairmasters. So I think what we need are these sort of small apartment buildings, and if you can do them on a single lot, then you don't have to bid up the price of land to consolidate into a big giant frontage. And so I think that in combination with the fact that the market today is very different than 2016.
Yeah.
So I think that it is a different time and a different type of thing than, say, the Canby corridor development.
We do see, I mean, in areas, I look at the North Shore, for instance, see an awful lot of 6-story buildings for some reason, all 6 stories, you know, going up into some of the bigger streets, and, you know, that somehow fit in with the neighborhoods just fine.
Yeah, I think a lot of these things, they do fit in just fine, especially after they've been there for a year. I think it's like the multiplexes. When people see it, it's new, it's half built.
Yeah.
It feels very jarring. But those things that feel jarring a year later can feel very normal, especially once they've got landscape and people living in them.
And one of the concerns that's been brought up is, okay, great, so you've got yourself some retail and you've got some density, but where are the amenities? And so how do you make sure that all of these villages are served by, you know, parks, community centers, schools if necessary, you know, the kind of services people need?
Yeah, and that is an important question. I think that's a question with the Broadway plan or anywhere where you're bringing a lot of density. But I would say that a lot of these neighborhoods do have existing amenities, and they just haven't had enough housing to really make use of them.
Right.
Same thing, there's the staff told us there is enough sewer capacity. The infrastructure is already there. We can just fill in with a lot of what we have and then figure out what do we need that's new.
It does feel though like some neighborhoods in the city are just off limits to this. Like they're, you know, they will not be touched. I don't know if you remember the old Arav line, the Arbutus Corridor Creme de la Creme meeting that was very, very famous. We are the doctors and lawyers and CEOs of this city. We are the creme de la creme, as one person said. The reason that the SkyTrain line shouldn't have been built down Arbutus Street. Apparently, they were successful because it went down Canby instead. What do you do with that kind of neighborhood opposition?
Yeah, it's very real, and you've got groups like in Dunbar that have been opposing new housing for 30 years. Like in City Plan in the 90s, they actually were talking about all these exact same things, and it was successfully blocked by these exact same forces and a sort of outsized influence on City Hall. I think that is changing. The laneway houses were the first kind of crack in that armor, because when you do something citywide, you actually allow incremental density to kind of be sprinkled across every neighborhood, including those ones.
Right.
So I see this is definitely the first step, but it is still, you know, concentrated just in certain pockets. Ultimately, if this works, it would have to go to Dunbar. It would have to go to Point Grey. That's inevitable. That change over the next 60 years is inevitable.
And in the end, does it make anything any more affordable?
Sure. Yeah, an apartment is massively more affordable than a $5 million bungalow or a house. Like so many of these neighborhoods, they have the tear-down bungalow that's worth $3 million. The status quo is not gentle. It is not a benign factor. It's not a sign of a healthy city. And so anything that we do, almost anything, is more affordable than the status quo. And so if we can create these small little bite-sized apartment buildings, we can also do co-ops, we can do co-housing, we can do lots of interesting non-market stuff once we've kind of unlocked that kind of zoning piece that lets it happen.
And how do you convince families to live in these? I mean, you're not talking about, you know, giant spaces here. And how do you also make sure that you don't have developers who are building, you know, 500 square foot junior one bedrooms?
Well, there might be a demand for some of that. Like if somebody wants to buy a low-cost unit, maybe that's it. But I think the single-stair buildings really do unlock nice, accessible family-sized units with multiple bedrooms. Yeah. You know, the stuff we've been drawing, we was in the Vancouver Sun with examples of, you know, having like a nice electric cargo bike garage as your primary means, a shared roof deck, you know, light, air, and a social stair. I think that we can create really nice flats that are long-term family housing and not just sort of something something that you live in on a temporary basis, when you're a young person.
Yeah. Bryn, great to see you. Thank you so much for stopping in. It's an exciting conversation. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me in again.
Thank you. Bryn Davidson, the co-owner and lead designer at Lanefab.